In 2009, the Ssangyong Motor Company of South Korea, one of the country's major car makers, faced bankruptcy. Executives announced a mass layoff of 2,600 workers to save the company. To these workers, the loss of their jobs meant something more than financial ruin. It meant total ruin. Many were already in deep debt, trying to make ends meet for their families. So, when the layoffs were announced, workers fought back. Over 900 employees occupied the factory and refused to leave. They turned the assembly lines into barricades, demanding their jobs back. That's when it got violent. For 77 days, Ssangyong workers held their ground until the government mobilized forces of thousands of riot police. Helicopters dropped tear gas onto the factory, turning it into a war zone. Tasers, batons, and water cannons were used against workers. Some protesters, desperate, set themselves on fire. Others jumped off the factory roof to escape from police. By the time the occupation was over, dozens were injured, several workers had died, and many more took their own lives in the years that followed. They had lost everything, and this hopelessness, this fight against an unbeatable system, would later become one of the core themes of Squid Game. Years later, when Hwang Dong-hyuk wrote Squid Game, he was still thinking about what happened at Ssangyong. Similar to the laid-off workers, Squid Game contestants were bound by debt, ready to stake their lives on survival. VIPs watching over the games were symbolic of the rich elite, as were Ssangyong executives and the government-distant observers of suffering workers. The brutal, militarized enforcement of the games reflects the government's crackdown on the striking workers. And, just as in Squid Game, the workers were eventually forced to turn on each other in a bid for survival, betrayed fellow employees simply to keep their jobs.